Hey, how's it going guys? Jack and Matt here with the Toaster Bros, and today we're going to be reviewing NZXT's cheapest pre-built PC.
This is their starter PC, and they're trying to get in on the budget sector. This PC comes in at $699, but is it worth $699? Well, we're about to find out.
So the specs of this PC are the 9100F from Intel, which is a true quad-core i3. We have the Deepcool GIMX cooler that does have some RGB on it typically. We have 8 gigs at 3000 megahertz, a MSI GeForce GTX 1650. We have an MSI Mag B365M mortar motherboard, a 450 watt BR from EVGA, which is 80 plus bronze, a really good power supply. We have a very nice MSI Wi-Fi. We also have an Intel 660p 512 gig NVMe SSD, which is also a really high-end SSD, all housed inside of the NZXT H510 case. And then flipping this around, you guys know we are sticklers for cable management. And Matt, what do you think about that?
I think that's a pretty 8.5 out of 10, I would say.
Yeah, I think we can give it the Toasty Bros seal of approval because this actually looks really good. I mean, even down here, we would usually leave it like this because, well, if you cable manage all this stuff, if anybody ever wants to upgrade, it is impossible to get to. But you can see we do have the EVGA 450BR, which is a nice, I believe, 80 plus bronze certified power supply. Really good looking cables too. There is no, mustard and ketchup. So the things to say about this NZXT PC is, well, when you look at a brand like NZXT, I consider them to be pretty high-end brand, and that's how they are with their parts too. There is nothing here that is knockoff, no-name brand. There's no, custom stuff that they've done. This is all just good name brand components, which is one of the reasons why you might be thinking, hey, this is a little bit pricey for what the actual specs are. Well, you got to think you're getting very high-quality components with this build.
Now, some of the reasons why you would want to go with an NZXT build PC is one, especially these pre-built ones that are basically the exact same specs every single time, there's no customization to them, is the fact that you don't have to pay their $99 builder fee if you go on and customize a PC through the build service. You also get a 2-year warranty with live customer support, so you can get on a call if you want to enable XMP, which out of the box, the RAM on this is 3000 megahertz, but it's not enabled in the BIOS under XMP, just for the sake of making sure it boots up fine. You can contact the customer support and they will walk you through how to set up XMP if you do choose to do so. And we'll talk more about some of the configuration choices here in a little bit that we're not super sure on, but NZXT is a pre-built company. You're gonna get that warranty, that peace of mind. If you don't wanna build a computer, you do get that option. And also, it's an NZXT case. You know how much I love the H510 and all the NZXT cases out there. It's a legendary case. It looks great, very minimal, and this kind of design is pretty much the only way you're gonna get a pre-built like this in most situations is going this route. So if you're an NZXT fan and you don't wanna build a PC, build might be a good option for you. And another reason you would go with a pre-built option is if you place an order before 11 a.m. PST, you can get this thing shipped out same day, which means you can get this PC really quickly, which is something we really like and a big selling point for pre-built systems when we recommend them here on the channel is getting them in your hands ready to go. So this is a really good option as well because they are ready to go, so you can get it in your hands and start gaming on it really quickly. Now, because they sent this over for basically our review so we can give them feedback on how to improve this PC or just our general thoughts, one of the main things that does stand out is the use of a single 8 gig stick. Now, we have done testing here on the channel that even with Intel systems, mainly we have tested with Ryzen PCs, but it does show up in Intel systems. If you go with single channel memory, you can lose a good amount of performance by just going that route. So what we're gonna be doing in the benchmarking section, since they only chose 1 stick of memory, is we're gonna test it as is, but then also swap it out with 2 4 gig sticks. In theory, that would not cost them that much more, so we are kind of wondering why they chose the single stick route. Kind of a questionable move. Another thing is the motherboard. While it is a high-end board, with something like a 9100F, I feel like they could have gone a little bit cheaper with it, but that does go back to the whole NZXT is selling premium products. So if you want something that's really well put together, I know this motherboard is very reliable. I've seen the reviews of it on Amazon. It's a really good option, but it is a more expensive board compared to what you normally would go for on this socket. So definitely another area here. You really didn't need the custom cooler, but hey, it does look better than the stock cooler, so I give them props for that. And everything else is pretty decent. I just think they could have gone for the 2 sticks of memory, which we'll show in the benchmarks. That is one thing that could be a problem, but everything else is still pretty solid, and I'm kind of excited to see how this thing performs. So how about we go ahead and throw it on our benchmarking setup and get to benchmarking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have this NZXT PC all up and running, let's talk about some benchmarks real quick, shall we? Now, we decided to test this PC in a couple of titles: Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, and Overwatch. Now, the main reason this PC exists is for esports titles like Fortnite, Valorant, CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, games like that, and Fall Guys, which is a very popular game nowadays. But that is the main idea behind this PC coming in at its price point. Now, yes, for $700, you most certainly could build your own PC that is better. That is no question asked. Like, that's totally obvious. Even NZXT knows that. But if you're somebody out there who wants to get a PC, doesn't want to have to stress about picking out the right parts, and if for some reason the PC just doesn't work, have somebody to go to make sure it gets fixed, well, pre-builds are the best option for that. And NZXT is a company that has a 2-year warranty on top of their computers, which gives you a lot of peace of mind when buying a computer that you're going to have something that's going to last for a long time, and if it does go wrong, you will have the ability to get it repaired through NZXT. But let's talk more about those numbers. In Fortnite on Pro settings, we got pretty much over 100 FPS constantly, which is to be expected. If you're somebody who wants to get into Fortnite on PC, maybe you're switching from console, this could be a good starting point for you, especially in the pre-built market sector. Being able to run around, crank some 90s, get some kills is absolutely no problem in this game. You could run on high settings if you want to, but most people on PC prefer to play on Pro settings, which is basically epic view distance and everything else on low. And at 1080p, you have no problems averaging over 100 FPS. It probably wouldn't be great for a high refresh rate, but if you did happen to have a high refresh rate monitor on hand, you could take advantage of the fact that you are playing over 60 FPS on this game. Next up is Overwatch, which is a very similar scenario. On high settings, 1080p, you're getting well over 60 FPS, sometimes into the hundreds. It's most certainly more than playable on this PC, and it's another example of a game like Valorant, which would probably get very similar results, well over 100 FPS without any problems whatsoever. There are a lot of people out there on the market that just want to get a PC up and running that can play these kinds of games. They're just not available on console right now. In the case of Valorant and Fall Guys, with exception of PS4, but you get what I'm saying. There's definitely a lot of games out there that people want to join on PC because it's just a better experience on PC. And speaking of a better experience on PC, Warzone. Now, Warzone on a mixture of like low, medium settings at 1080p averaged around 60-ish FPS. Now, 60-ish FPS in Warzone is not the greatest because there are some dips down below 60 every so often, but it is a playable experience that you could get your feet wet in Warzone and eventually upgrade this computer later down the line with maybe a little bit better GPU to get an even better, more playable experience. Now let's talk about a couple of the things that I had some problems with this computer. One, the single channel memory. Most situations, the PC will perform better just using 2 4GB sticks as opposed to 1 8GB stick. We did bring this up to NZXT, and they did mention that they considered this as well and did know that there would be more performance by going with 2 4GB sticks, but they mentioned that the new standard of 8GB being the minimum nowadays has pushed the availability of 4GB sticks kind of hard to get right now, so they wanted to get something that's more reliable, and 8GB was the best way they could do it in a single stick. So that's their justification. I personally still would have opted for 2x4GB if it was possible, because the performance can be around 5 to 10 frames in certain games, so do keep that in mind if you are getting this PC. But then the other thing I wanted to mention is the use of the B365 motherboard, which is a higher end board for something like a 9100F. Now, no, it's not like a Z490 board and completely overkill, but it is a board that could be a little bit cheaper. It could be an H310 board if they wanted to, and at that point, they can most certainly afford maybe 16 gigs of RAM or upgrade to a 1650 Super, which gives you even more performance for your money. So cheaper motherboard might be a good option, but I can understand probably why they didn't opt that route, because NZXT like to have high quality parts in their builds. And while I do understand that, because they also opted for a CPU cooler on a locked processor, not very necessary, but it does add to that overall high quality build nature that NZXT likes to present. So overall, I mean, this PC for $700 does have its place in the market. There are other PCs out there on the market that do deliver more performance for $700, but if you are somebody who values a 2-year warranty and wants a NZXT product, then I would definitely keep this PC in mind if you're somebody who is in that sort of market, and it could be a good option for you. So now that we've finished these benchmarks, how about we go ahead and bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
So as you guys could tell, this PC performed about what we expected. This is honestly a pretty well-built pre-build, especially with its premium parts.
Now, of course, there are some trade-offs that we did mention at the beginning of the video. We do really hope that NZXT implements dual channel memory in the future. We also brought up to our contact NZXT the concept of going with a cheaper motherboard to basically get that dual channel memory, or maybe even 16 gigs of memory, and they did mention that is something they are looking into. So there are a couple ways that they could improve this pre-built before it officially launches, and they might do some updating along the way. So do keep in mind that there will be some updates potentially to this PC in the future. So check the most up-to-date link in the description down below to check this thing out. But yeah, I mean, $700, you are paying a premium for a pre-built PC, but you get that warranty from NZXT, the fast shipping times, and being able to buy it from a company like NZXT that has their nice cases and really good build quality. I mean, it could be justified for some people.
So if you're interested in buying this NZXT pre-built, use the links in the description down below. We'll also probably have some links to their website as well, because they do have an actual building option as well as their pre-builds. Also, don't forget to check out other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
I did a lot of twos and pieces for that.
Peace, deuce.
Because when you said the warranty, I'm like, 2-year warranty.
2-year warranty.